Morning everyone. Right, we're back at Sawdust Shack. I've got the fire going, coffee's made, and today's little project, well, I'll say today, it's going to take a few days to make. I want to make my own mallet. It's something I've always wanted to do and never had the time to do it. I've got some bits out here just to show you and go through my thought process, but we'll get to that in a minute. One of the reasons I want to make a mallet is firstly to see if I can do it. That's always a challenge. And the other one is to get a mallet at the weight and the handle as comfortable for me as possible. Where you buy a lot of things like hammers and things, and the handle might be nice, but it's too heavy and your wrist's hurting, or the head and the weight is nice, but it gives you hand ache trying to keep hold of it. So the challenge is to get the weight right and a comfortable grip. So that's what we're going to do, or try anyway. Might fail, might work, we'll see. So I'll swing you around and show you what I've got here and the reasons for making the mallet. Right, what I've got set out here is a different selection of hammers, mallets, these are called dead blows, all what you can use. Now the chisels, like these ones, these are the Marples by Stanley, and these come with a supposedly shatterproof head. Now if you look closely you can see where people that have picked them up and borrowed them have been using hammers with them because they've got dints and what have you. I do not use a hammer with any of my chisels. I use a mallet or a dead blow. Now these dead blows come in different weights, and you can sometimes hear the insides and they're good, but tend to be, you can see we've got a square handle there which is not very comfortable to hold. This one has got a bit more ergonomic handle, still the same, not overly comfy for long use when you're doing a lot of chiseling out. My old wood one has a lovely handle which is very comfortable. It's also got I think it's a copper or brass head for weight, and then your two little wooden noggins on the end. Now that's been a really good mallet, and it is a nice weight, but as you can see, I think this is about 45-year-old, so doesn't owe me a lot, but coming to the end of its life. So I think it's about time I actually made one that combines everything. One of the things I'm going to try is replicate not the leather on the handle, but the actual shape, because this S-wing, same again, 45 or so years old, and that's the most comfortable handle I've had on any hammer or anything. So I'm going to try and replicate that. And like I said, I don't like using hammers on these chisels, although they say you can and that's how they're built. I don't like doing it, which is why I want a wooden mallet. So that's the reason behind what we're going to do today, and we'll see see how it turns out. Like I said, might work. First blow on chisel, it might fall to pieces, we shall see. I've been having a bit of a scavenge through my could come in wood pile, which is offcuts from jobs I've done in the past for various people, bits that people have said, oh, well, can you make use of that? And I've never turned wood down, ever. So these are just a few offcuts. This is just your normal redwood. It's nothing overly special. This piece here, this is a piece of Brazilian mahogany, which is really nice. Got a nice piece of oak here. I think it's American oak, that. I don't think it's English oak. I think that's American oak. A couple more little bits of oak over there. And what we got here? This is just a piece of just a redwood, you know, bog standard redwood windowsill. It's an offcut of that. You can see it's got the bull nose on. So I've got all these bits to play with, and I think between the Brazilian mahogany and the oak, I think they should give me a nice solid head. So I'm going to try and make it a bit fancy. I don't just want a lump of wood. I'm going to try and fancy it up a bit, but we'll see how that goes. And then I think this piece here will make a nice handle. And like I say, just keep shaping that until I find a nice shape that's comfy for me. And I'll keep whatever size the head starts off at, I'll keep trimming that down and sanding it and trimming it until I get a nice weight, until I've got exactly what I want to suit me. Won't suit everybody, so if anybody thinks of copying this exactly, you might find doesn't work for you at all. The size and the weight depends on your strength, what you're using it for, all manner of variables. So you've got to, if you want to make one of these, it's got to be made to suit you and only you. This is why people struggle when they're buying them from the shops. There's always a compromise, which I don't want. So I'll start doing some working out and I'll fetch you back. Right, I've just had a scratch around in my wood pile and I've found these. Now this is oak, and as you can see, it's just glued together strips. Now these are left over from a project I did for a neighbour of mine, making him a wooden box to house, I think it was 12 shot glasses. And these are what I use to make the dividers inside to make the little holders. And this is, again, one of the reasons why I never try to throw anything out, because you never know when you're going to use it. But if you've got the space, keep it. If you haven't, you have to bin it. The plan is I'm going to cut this down into 12mm strips, probably about 8 of them, and then that gives me a mil either side to pop it through the planer, get them nice and uniform, nice and square and flat and straight, and then we're going to make a sandwich of these and in between them. Then once all that's glued up, set, done, what I might do, I'll see how it looks, is I might cut it across in the middle and then put one piece in the middle, which will make it look like all little separate squares. See, don't know, see how it looks. This is the beauty about doing it yourself, you just make it up. I'm going to be using the Gorilla polyurethane glue. It takes a bit longer to go off and what have you, but it's one of the strongest glues I've ever used. I really like it. So that's what we're going to be putting it together with. So next thing is to get these cut down. So I'll set the table saw up, get these cut, and we'll take it from there. As you've just seen, we've cut 4 of these, and I said I wanted 8, but they're long enough to cut in half and give me the 8 I need. So I need to set the planer up now. We'll get these planed down. Although the saw does a really good job of cutting these, you get the odd little cut mark from the blade. It is only very slight, but that very slight is enough to put a gap in where your joint will weaken and it could pop apart. So I'm going to run them through planer and get them all perfectly flat and start gluing up with these then. Right, first change of plan is I'm not using these now. I was thinking about it, they're too thin. By the time I've tried to get them through planer, I'll have nothing left. So another scratch around, I found a bit of old oak windowsill I cut off that I had. So I've cut that into 2 strips for there, and by the time I've cut them in half, that should then give me enough to join them in, and it'll leave me enough meat to get through the planer as well. So that's the first change of plan. I'm sure there'll be many more, so we'll see how that goes on. What I need to do now is shift all this rubbish, get the planer out, get that set up, and get on planing these down to thickness. So I will catch you in a minute. I'll just give you a quick idea of what I'm meaning. That's sort of what we're going to end up with. That's the planer all set up, dust extractor on there, catches 99% of the chip-ins. So I've just got to feed them through now. Right, you can see now how these are all exactly the same thickness. These are all exactly the same thickness. And more importantly, the square to each other face to face. So when they go together, with no gaps. So when they're all glued and clamped, they go together quite nicely. So that's the next section, is glue and clamp them up. Time for a bit of glue up now. I've cut these and planed them. Exactly the same process as them, so you don't need to see it twice. That's going to make the handle up. So I'm going to have a, I don't know, what's that called, Battenberg handle, whatever. And these are ready for gluing up now with the polyurethane. Now with this, you put glue on one side, then on the opposite side you have to just dampen it with a bit of water because it's moisture curing. So you put a bit of water on there, plenty of glue on there, clamp it up, and what it does, it foams a bit like expanding foam does, and bites in and gives you a really good contact. So I'll get that started and show you what it looks like. Right, as you can see, we've already started getting the foam coming out as it glues together. That's that one foaming nicely. I'll leave them while tomorrow now, let them set, and then once they're all set up we can start machining. So I'll see you guys in the morning. Morning everyone. Obviously the next day, and you can see now what I was on about with the glue foaming up and expanding. It does it all the way along. What that does, it actually forces the glue into the wood. It doesn't just sit there and bond them, it actually penetrates right into the timbers, giving you, well, one of the strongest joints I've ever used. So right, I'll get the clamps off, I'll get my scraper, scrape all this excess off, and then we'll take it from there. All I use for scraping off is just a carbide scraper, and it is tough going. Like I say, it's a really good glue. That will make my handle. Right, now set up for the surface planer, and what this does, the fence is at 90 degrees to the bed, but what I do now is pass the work over the top, keeping it tight to and square to the fence. Then the planer takes the material off the bottom and gives me a true 90, and then when I put the other side through the planer, I've got a true square then. So I'll set up and get that done, and then you can see how it works. Right, as you saw there, I took two sides through, the other two are left. So what that's done is the first pass gave me a flat edge. Then I hold that flat edge against the fence, which keeps it at 90 degrees. So now I've got a 90-degree corner there. So when I put them through with a thicknesser now onto these two sides, it will give me a perfect square. That's both our pieces now all planed up, squared off. So what I need to try and do now is work out what length I want the hammer to be, and then once I've determined that, have I got enough weight in there, or do I need to put something on the sides, give it a bit more weight? So I'll work all that out, then I'll fetch you back for a look. As we said from the beginning, we're just making this up as we go along. So what I'm thinking now is those sides onto there, glued on, and then handle's going to go somewhere like about that, and that should make me a decent mallet. Now these two bits, just been scabbing through me spares bit, and I found this old shelf that was out of a desk that I made ages ago, and it ended up getting scrapped, but I kept all the oak. Now all this oak came from a place at Wetherby, And what they do, when these old buildings are getting pulled down, they go round and scavenge all the beams, oak beams, teak beams, whatever beams are in there. And you can go there. They actually make flooring, floorboards. But you can go there, buy a beam, and they'll cut it up for you. So this is proper old English oak, and I think the building they took down was about 120 years old. So God knows how old the tree was when they brought it down, but it had been in there for 120 years, so it's good, solid English oak. And this is why I keep saying about don't throw any, if you come across any hardwoods at all, don't throw them out, because they're so difficult to get hold of. All these little offcuts here, I'll be keeping all these, because as you've just seen, this is all made out of bits I've got laying about. I haven't bought anything, so you never know. And good hardwood is so difficult to get hold of these days. Never throw it. There we go. I've just run these through planer, because I think there was some polish on them, so that gets rid of all the polish off it. Yeah, there was. Look, if you can see on that edge, see the difference in colour. That's still got polish on it, but not bothered about our edge because we're playing in it again. So it's just repeat of what we've done here. Glue it up, clamp it, and then we're stuck then again while tomorrow. Can't do anything with that until tomorrow. You might be wondering why I'm leaving it at this length. Well, I think my plan is, if I half that, or more or less half it, that'll give me the length I want. Then in future, what I'll have, if I need it, I'll have a spare head. So when this one wears out, I can just swap the head over and save me making another one. So I reckon both of these two should see my lifetime out. In all fairness, this old one that I've been using, like I say, it's got to be coming up 35-year-old, that maybe older, and that's all still original. Like I say, it's had a few bits screwing there, some head coming off, but yeah, so I reckon them two should see me out. Right, I'll get this glued up, and then unfortunately we'll have to call it a day then. There we go, all clamped up, plenty of glue on, starting to foam up already, as you can see. I'll leave that while morning now, and that should give us the block for our mallet. So we'll see how it goes. Might end up as firewood, you never know. Right, I will catch you tomorrow. Right, welcome back everyone. It's been a few days since I glued this up. I've had other projects on the go, so this had to take a bit of a back burner. But as you can see, the glue nicely foamed out. It's all set nicely now, so we'll get the clamps off, get the scraper out, scrape the glue off, and then we'll get it planed up, get the planer back out, get it planed up and all squared round, and we'll take it from there. Right, see you in a bit. There we go, that's all the glue scraped off, and it's just had a couple of very light passes through planer just to make sure the edges are all nice and parallel, which they are. And when I can get out of it, that's what the end of the mallet's going to look like. So I'm quite pleased with that. We'll see how it goes now. So all that's left to do now is work out the length I want, and I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to use the old mallet that I had, when I can find it, wherever I hid it, there we go. I'm going to use that as sort of a template for the size that I want. I know this has got a metal centre which gives it that bit of weight, but this is going to be, as you can see, a lot more chunky, so I'm hoping that that's going to give it as much weight if I make it just a little bit bigger. So more or less I would say cutting this in half would give me what I need, I think, and then get the handle connected and test the weight. But if it works out that that goes in half, then that gives me a spare head for when this one wears out. But we'll see how it goes. Right, I'll fetch you back in a bit. I've just cut the one block into two, so that's cut directly in half, and it feels a nice weight at the minute. Obviously I haven't got the handle on, but might want a little bit more trimming off it just to even it out a bit. I don't know. I'm hoping that that weight will be all right for me, but we'll see. Right, the next thing to decide is which way round I want it. So, do I want the handle on that way, or do I want the handle on that way? So that's the next decision I need to make, and then obviously I need to get the hole in the centre for whichever way I'm going to put it on. So we shall have a look at that and I'll make a decision. I've decided that I'm going to make the mallet that way. Now when I come to do the other one, if ever I use that piece over there, then I might change my mind and do it that way. But for this one, we're having it that way. What I've done, I've marked out where the square is going to be cut out, and I've just got my benchtop mortise machine out. So what we're going to do now, the mortise machine uses a square chisel with a drill bit in the middle. So the drill bit takes all the material out and the chisel cuts a nice square hole. So we're going to go all the way through with that, and then once we've done that, that's where we can put the handle in. So I'll get this all set up, and then I'll try and get the camera set so you can see this in action. And I'll fetch you back in a minute. Right, as you can see, that puts us a nice square hole all the way down. So all I need to do now is work my way out from that all the way through to the markings, and that'll give me the square hole to get the handle in. So I'll carry on doing that. No need to bore you guys with it, and then I'll fetch you back when it's done. As I've said in all the videos where I'm making things, all what I'm doing here can be done by hand. I'm using the tools because I've got them. It's as simple as that. But if you wanted to do this by hand, it's just as simple as drilling it out near to the line with a nice sharp drill all the way through, and then just a nice sharp chisel just to finish off squaring up and getting it nice and tight. All the jointing, I know I've done it on the planer and everything, but all that can be done with hand planes, and whatever you're wanting to make, you can make with as little tools as you've got. All the power tools just make my life a lot easier, so that's why I use them. But we're talking about a 45-year collection of tools here. It's not something people can just acquire overnight, unless they're really lucky or really rich. But this has taken me a lot of years to get all these, so I use them whenever I need to use them. the mortise machine that I actually inherited off my father when my father passed. So not a machine you use very often, but like you've just seen, when you need it, it's very useful. Right, what I need to do now is just get a nice sharp chisel, just clean this up and trim all the little nicks and marks out, and then that handle should slide in there nicely. There we are, that's the handle in place. Now all I've got to do is shape the head. I think I might just hit it all the way round, all the corners with a 45-aught router, and then just need to shape the handle so it's a nice comfortable grip. Then we can start putting it together. Now we're getting there, looking quite snazzy, I think. So right, I'll get it taken to bits again and start shaping the handle up, and I'll let you see how it goes on. I've just been over to the mitre saw and put a very small 45 angle on the end. That's going to stick through the head of the mallet up to that line, just to give me a nice little detail. And the way I've achieved that is marked it out obviously with a pencil for the line, set a stop block, put the material back to the stop block, and then you fix the saw down to do your mitre. Then all you need to do is keep turning it, and it keeps your mitre lined straight all the way round, and you just keep turning it till you've done all four sides, and you end up with a nice little detail on top. And that's the effect we're going for. So it gives you that nice little bump on the top of the mallet there. Just a bit of fancy, that's all, not really doing anything. I'm sure I'm not alone in this with a workshop, but as you can see, it's very full. So, and I want to get to the lathe. What I'm going to do is put the handle in the lathe now and machine it down so I've got a nice grip. But obviously to get to the lathe, my bench is in the way. Everything I've piled on the lathe while it's not being used is in the way. So I've now got to shift all that lot out, do 5 minutes work, and then put it all back. So I'll get on with that, and then we'll try and set up so you can see the lathe in action. Right, that's the handle set up in the lathe. So what I've got now is, this is the end of the handle, that's where the mallet head's going, and that there is roughly where I want to be holding it. So the plan is now to start shaping that section of the handle to a nice grip that's comfortable for me. As I've said from the start, what works for me won't work for everybody, so you've just got to find your own grip. And I mean, for some people a square one like that might be nice. To me it's not, so we're just going to round it off a bit. So what we're going to end up with is a similar shape to this, where you've got your square, then it rounds off for a nice grip and then goes back into the square there. So that's what we're aiming for, just rounding the edges over just that little bit, just so it's nice and comfortable to hold. So I'm not sure that I can set you up to see this going, but I'll try. There we've got it, a nice grip to suit my hand. So all we need to do now is finish all the sanding off on all the other bits, and then 45 these edges and then start putting it together. Right, I'll get all this lot put back, because you can see, having to move everything, it's taking me longer to move it and put it back than what it did to actually do the handle. So I'll get that done and then I'll fetch you back. And that's how it's looking, situated in the mallet. I've taken that down just enough so it's nice and comfy for me. Right, a lot of sanding to do now. I'm not going to bore you with sanding. I'll get it all sanded up and then I'll start machining these corners up. I've just set the table saw up, blades at 45 degrees. I'm just going to run these through. That's going to take us corners off, and then we'll reset it and take them off there. So I've got a 45 all the way round, off these edges, off everywhere. So I'll try and set you up so you can see what's happening there. Yeah, I'm not sure now. Now I've cut that, I might just leave it at that. I'll have a look what it looks like with handling, see what we think. I'm not sure whether to 45 off there and there, but it might take too much off the face. I'll have a look and I'll get back to you. I decided to do all the edges, so that's how we're looking now. So all the edges are done. Got the little 45s coming through the top there, 45s all round. That looks quite good. All that's left to do now is a load of sanding and then assemble it. So I'll crack on and sand it all up, and then I'll show you what it looks like when it's done. There we go, that's the mallet all finished. Might put a stain on it, I don't know yet. Like I said, this is going to be a working mallet. It's not for show. It's not just to look pretty and sit on bench. This is going to get some abuse. So I don't think I'm even going to put a finish on it. It's just going to get used. I might end up giving it a coat of oil or something. If I do, I'll show you that later. But at the moment, that's it, all ready for use. Now, the handle, where I've shaped it, feels just nice for my grip. Like I say, if you're making it for yourself, you make it to fit your grip. You might need it bigger, you might need it smaller, but for me that's nice. And it's also a nice place to hold it to swing. And it's a nice weight. It's not, doesn't give me wrist ache or arm ache or anything. It's just, I think I've got it just about right for what I need, and hopefully that will see me well into retirement and I won't have to make another one. But as I said earlier, I've kept the other block just in case, and if anything does happen I can soon make another one. But for now, that's it, all done. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you have, please consider giving us a like and a subscribe, and ding the little bell, and then you'll catch all the other videos that we put up. And that's the end of this lot. So take care everybody, and we will catch you on the next one. Cheers.